So by now, I'm sure you know the headline. Donald Trump pardons narco-terrorist, massive drug trafficker, former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez. But you dig deeper and what you realize is that Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was sentenced to 45 years under the Biden administration when the federal prosecution led to a conviction, Hernandez was first charged under the first Trump administration in August of 2019. And the lead prosecutor in the case involving the Hernandezes and his brother, who was one of the main narco terrorists who worked with El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, the main federal prosecutor was none other than Emil Bove, who is Donald Trump's former criminal defense lawyer, who Donald Trump then appointed to be one of the top officials at the Department of Justice, who's now a Court of Appeals judge who Trump appointed there. This was the guy who was intimately involved in making the order, basically, F what the judges say, send the plane to El Salvador. Literally, I think there were emails and messages from him to others in the DOJ saying F the law or F the judge or words to that effect. And he's also someone who's been linked to providing legal guidance, and I put that in quotes, about shooting to kill the boats rather than interdicting off the coast of Venezuela. Reuters report discusses there. But just look right here. August 3rd, 2019. Who was the president August 3rd, 2019? Trump was. Honduran president accused in New York of drug conspiracy. U.S. federal prosecutors have accused Honduran president Juan Orlando Hernandez of having used $1.5 million in drug trafficking proceeds to secure the presidency in 2013. It's Trump's DOJ, folks. Yes, the prosecution then took place when Biden was in office thereafter, but that's Trump right there. As Pedro Gonzalez says, a lead prosecutor on the Juan Orlando Hernandez case while Trump was president was Emil Bove, who Trump later nominated to be on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. When Trump says Hernandez was the victim of a setup, he's lying to his supporters because he knows that conservative legacy media will protect that lie and the new right won't challenge it. The same people who talk a big game about getting drugs off the streets will help Trump defend his decision to pardon someone who explicitly stated that his goal was to poison Americans. In the trial, Juan Orlando Hernandez said, get those drugs up the nose of as many gringos as you can and kill them. There was a trial. This was a long-term prosecution, Ed Whelan explains. Some hilarious details to add to Trump's outlandish pardon of convicted drug trafficker and former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. Then, federal prosecutor Emil Bove led the investigation of Hernandez and prosecuted his brother. When Trump was in office, when Bove resigned to go into private practice after Trump left office, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, taunted that Bove's departure, which Bukele depicted as a firing from Biden, showed that the U.S. was on the side of drug traffickers and wasn't serious about justice. Bukele's taunt applies much better to Trump's pardon of Hernandez. And you see Bukele's post right here. The government of the United States just dismissed the prosecutor who imprisoned Hernandez's brother for drug trafficking. That's Emil Bove. Then they say they are worried about justice in our countries. It is evident which side they are on and is not the side of our people. So do you get it? Trump's ally Bukele was attacking the Biden administration because Bove resigned as a sign that Biden was somehow supporting Hernandez, who was put in jail for 45 years while Biden was in office. And now with Trump pardoning Hernandez and saying that it was a hoax perpetrated by what? Trump's own lawyer? Bukele now supports Trump. Do you see that this is all one big fugazi? It's all one just BS shell game by authoritarians and fascists to attack democracy. Don't you see what this is all about? And just so you see what Trump said, here's what Trump said at a press conference on Tuesday. Let's play it.
I did.
You also pardoned the former president of Honduras, and he was released from prison
I
yesterday.
did. Well, he was the president, and they had some drugs being sold in their country, and because he was the president, they went after him. That was a Biden horrible witch hunt, which was, a lot of people in Honduras asked me to do that, and I did it. I feel very good about it. if you have some drug dealers in your country and you're the president, you don't necessarily put the president in jail for 45 years.
Helping us break all of this down, Harry Litman, you see what he says. The prosecution began under the first Trump administration. Trump's own lawyer and his Trump's favorite lawyer, Emil Bove, was the prosecutor on it. Just it is so obvious what they're doing here and just so despicable, Harry.
Despicable, but hypocritical, indifferent to domestic law enforcement. You have people from the DEA today absolutely feeling betrayed. We're talking about a guy who moved like 400,000 to 500,000 tons of cocaine into this country. Even if you buy the most wild-eyed theories about the narco-terrorists off the coast that we're bombing, we're talking about the smallest fraction of that. And what a classic Trumpian move. Oh, just because he's president? No, it's not just because he's president. It's because he was caught red-handed, absolutely corrupt, moving as much cocaine as possible. One very big part of this whole equation, Ben, there's a letter out there that he sent, I think, October 28th, delivered to Trump just a couple days ago, shortly before he pardoned, by one Roger Stone. We have all the greatest hits keep coming back, Emil Bove and Roger Stone. And it is the most, you would think of it as like a farcical letter, except, in Trump's world, you can't be farcical when it comes to sucking up to him. It's a 4-page letter talking about, I hesitate to write you, but I'm so, I'm so impressed by you, and we're the same people doing the same things. And I was totally, railroaded by the Biden-Harris administration, as he says, again and again, just a whole sheet of not just lies, but complete kind of slavish praise that you would think even the most insecure and needy kind of leader wouldn't be fooled by something like this. It's so blatant, and there you go. Trump just swallows it whole, and we have somebody whose criminal culpability probably way outdistances all that of all the 20 people that we have bombed so far. Even if we don't know yet, nobody has said how much cocaine was down there, if there even was any, if these were even members of Tren de Aragua, that as Trump has made the justification for the whole thing. This is just, it's a little bit like the immigration operation, seems to me. Kick around the weak and to show you're tough, but give all kinds of breaks and a different tier of justice to the A, strong, and B, people who suck up to you. So yeah, it's farcical how hypocritical it is, but it's, the farces are sometimes funny. This is deadly serious, a really important drug interdiction by the boards, boom, and just our credibility in the international community. They catch finally. It's not easy to put together a case against an ex-president. By the way, it was Honduras itself whose Supreme Court saw the evidence we proffered, said, yeah, okay, and voted to ship him up to us for extradition. That's the way you should be doing all of this, right? You extradite people, and it's a criminal offense, not a law of war kind of situation. Brought him up and just completely wiped out by Trump because, the guy completely kissed his ring repeatedly. This letter is like a, breathtaking document for how to suck up to the president of the United States and leader of the free world. So yeah, it's terrible. It's hypocritical. It really shows their kind of colors about, their bullying tactics toward, these boats versus a mastermind. But it's so grievous for public safety. It's such a huge thing to put together a prosecution like this, and it's gone. People in the DEA, and I know this for a fact, are just apoplectic today.
Focus so much on international news on the MeidasTouch network now in order to make these connections, because it was clear to me that, really Donald Trump is a vessel of a right-wing, fascist, authoritarian, ultra-nationalistic movement that versus a democracy movement. And the way most of history was written was actually by people like Trump's and Putin's and Orban's, and through the Enlightenment and through a radical, in a good way, of thinking. This idea of liberal democracy was born and spread and was able to remove kings, and democracies were able to be created. And you see the pendulum swinging back to authoritarians and kings. I think also aided and abetted by disinformation and information silos. Paradoxically, with the access of information and AI, people are getting bad information. And so it's almost creates a feudal, like lord versus peasant dynamic with more information. But I do a whole chat and a whole TED talk on that. You can come back and listen to that. But the point is that, and why I'm bringing this up here, is that Hernandez is part of a right-wing authoritarian strongman push. And you have people like him, and you have Bukele's, and you have Putin's, and you have Orban's, and then you have manifestations of it in places like France with Le Pen and the movements there to try to take over that with kind of a Trumpism. We saw it come close to overtaking Canada with Polyev and Maple MAGA. We saw it close to taking over Australia with their Timu Trump. We see the Reform Party, Nigel Farage in the UK. So there are these movements, and ultimately too, yes, you had Hernandez suck up to Trump and say, it's so unfair. But it's really also about the Honduran election and Trump wanting to control Honduras. And you have someone in Xiomara Castro, who's in charge right now of Honduras, who actually got rid of a lot of the drugs there and who turned things around, but has a more socialistic approach and a approach that is less in line with Trump's authoritarianism. And that's the tension. She's more of a multilateralist, focusing on advancing the interest of Honduras versus being an American puppet. And there's also that aspect of a deal that Trump's making with Honduras to interfere with their elections. I'll give you the last word, but it was a long wind-up to say this is about regime changes and MAGA control, and that's what it's about. And the way Putin uses denazification as a pretext to invade Ukraine, Trump uses narco trafficking as a way to give pretext to his regime change MAGA goals.
That's true with this intermediate step of emergency. Been many aspects to this story, but I think what you just said is kind of brilliant. And I immediately had in mind what happened in Ukraine and the first impeachment of Donald Trump. Remember, where really he was trying to meddle in the Ukrainian elections on behalf of the corrupt guy. His basic style and approach to governance. You need corrupt people who will break the rules, who, do the opposite of the rule of law. You can control them more or put them in your pocket. They speak your sort of tough guy language. It's actually one of the things that are in the letter from Hernandez. I, like you, am a good conservative trying to be patriotic about my country. It's no coincidence that the people he reaches out to are exactly the forces worldwide that are opposed to honest government and the rule of law. That's what he needs for his style of government. And I think you're kind of drawing throwing a cloak around this, but also history and certainly developments throughout the West is a really very thoughtful way to look at it, and it's dead on. I mean, it's no mistake, no accident that what he needs are other people who don't give a shit about the rule of law and are tyrannical. That's the kinds of people he can work with, given what the kind of leader or tyrant he wants to be.
Everybody subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel, Talking Feds, his podcast, and his Substack, all called Talking Feds. Thanks so much, Harry.
Hey, thank you, Ben.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.